bowl covered with a cloth, a tiny belling hot plate and a washing-up bowl on top. Next to the window, the moonlight showed the pale squares of my notice board with its to-do lists for every room, snippets of cloth and paint cards, pictures of ideal rooms torn from magazines, a collage of how the sea house was going to be one day. I loved sitting at the rickety kitchen table updating the lists, adding and crossing off, enjoying the delicious feeling of our forever home finally rising up from the rather disgusting ruin we'd bought in the dead of winter. I'd first seen the house by torchlight, running the pale light over the boarded-up windows, the walls cracked and streaked with green damp. We'd had to force the back door to get in. The air was thick with vegetal rot. Piles of filthy fleeces stacked up in the wreck of a kitchen, crumbling dirt and debris everywhere. The air had felt so cold that it sucked the heat from my face and hands. I was ready to turn round and go back to London. "But don't look at the mess," Michael said. "Think of it as freshly painted, curtains at the kitchen windows, a nice big pine table here." Now, with the outside more or less weatherproofed, the rats evicted, and the holes in the roof remedied, the debris swept away, and after hours and hours of plastering and painting, we were finally in, and it was possible to imagine that one day, instead of a chilly building site, the sea house would feel like a real home. And always the next thought, the one that seemed impossible. When the house was completely ready, we'd come in through the front door, and I'd be holding a small, warm weight, a little sleeping face in a nest of soft shawls. Our child. I avoided glancing down to the bottom of the notice board and the scruffy wad of bills still to be paid. Felt the niggle of worry stir in my stomach. I tipped the mug up and put it on the draining board, carefully, as the sink was a bit loose from the wall, propped up with some wood offcuts. The flagstones were freezing and starting to make my feet hurt. My shoulders felt pinched by the cold. There was hardly any moonlight as I crossed the hall to go back upstairs. The new floorboards felt unpleasantly gritty under my bare feet, and a freezing draught was coming up from the missing skirting board, bringing with it a clayey odour. I shivered and made for a pool of moonlight on the lower banisters. I put my hand out to take the newel post and felt the cold of the gloss paint under my palm. That's when I saw it. A quick blur of movement, like a tiny wing caught from the corner of my eye. I saw a hand descending on the newel post just after mine. I froze. A sudden, painful pricking of blood in my feet, the smell of clay sharp in my nostrils, every instinct primed to get out of there. She was so close, so palpably present. I thought she would appear in front of me. I couldn't breathe. My heart was gabbling so hard I thought it was going to give out. And then she was gone. The air relaxed. I ran up those stairs, the door to our room half ajar, just as I had left it. I got back into bed with a thump and lay close to Michael. He murmured but didn't wake. I stared into the dark. What on earth had just happened? Some delay in the messages from my eye to my brain, some silly trick of the mind half roused from sleep, had sent me into stupid panic. Eventually my heart slowed to normal. I'd almost talked myself down, was almost drifting off when I woke up once more, very alert. I opened my eyes onto the darkness. Then why had it felt so intensely real? As if someone else was there in the hallway, standing beside me so closely that for a moment I wasn't sure who I was. The fear was beginning to seep back in. I felt sick from fatigue, but there was nothing I could do. I stayed alert and awake, listening out to the minute sound.